Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Curling Community Connection. We have a special guest today, but first, there are some events that happened in the community that I think we need to address. So if I can have your full undivided attention, that would be great. We are removing Guy Phillips as a guest of our show, where he was scheduled to appear on Tuesday, June 30th. His mockery of black men murdered at the hands of police by using their last words on this earth as they had the life pressed out of them, saying, "I can't breathe," to equate their experiences to his under a mask requirement designed to protect the community is reprehensible. Guy Phillips should be removed from office immediately and prevented from ever representing our community again. But as I don't have that ability, I can at least ensure he doesn't have access to this platform to share more of his abhorrent and bigoted views. I have used this campaign platform, this Curling Community Connection, this video series, to highlight people throughout our great community during this global pandemic. And recently I've been bringing on local candidates from Scottsdale Mayor and the City Council races. My goal has been to foster conversations with these candidates and the community, regardless of how aligned or opposed we may be on our political views. It's important to me that we can share our ideas in a civil manner that respects our shared humanity. While Guy Phillips' prejudiced views have not been a secret, I still wanted to engage him in a public forum to challenge each other and to let the public see those discussions. But today he's crossed the line with his blatant bigotry to where I cannot, in good conscience, give him any more opportunity to share his despicable views. Instead, I'm looking for a replacement guest that can help us understand the importance of healing these racial and social divisions and spur a courageous conversation about how we can truly embrace one another. I will always relish a spirited debate, as we all can find opportunities to learn from one another. I will not, however, elevate horrible views that will deepen the trauma of our neighbors. There's a difference between disagreement and dehumanization. I will not tolerate people dehumanizing others in my presence, and I hope you all understand and can support this decision. And to be quite frank, it was an easy decision to make. Now, Mr. Phillips, if you're watching, I don't expect you to do the honorable thing by resigning your current position or pulling out of the upcoming election. I can control what I have control of, and that is not to give you another moment of space to espouse your views. With that, I want to apologize to our guest today. Rose Smith is here. My goodness, you came on a day, huh? Okay, can we unmute Rose, please? Look, Rose Smith is running for school board, one of 3 open positions. She is a retired SUSD employee of secondary education. She was an education support professional. She was in that classified association leadership. She has grandchildren that attend our SUSD schools. She was on the Yes to Children committee. She's a appointed member of all kinds of committees. Let's just cut to the chase. She's a longtime Scottsdale resident. Please welcome Rose Smith. Hi, Rose.
Hi, can you see me?
I can see you. Can you see me?
No, I can't see you at all.
Okay.
So,
I don't,
that's okay.
All right. Well, I'm here.
Okay.
And I'm hoping Andy can see us both. So we're going to be fine. Just speak to the camera. Everything will be cool. I just want to apologize. I mean, I'm sorry. I felt it was necessary to make a timely statement because he was coming on the show, and I have felt a long time that I could work with anybody, right? You know, and as long as we're moving Arizona forward, but there's just some people you just can't work with. I mean, if I wouldn't have this man in my house for dinner, I can't have him on the show. So be that as it may, if it cost me votes, it cost me votes, but we had to do what we had to do. And I apologize that it took up some of your time.
No, I think it was an important statement to make. And I think it needed to be said. So no, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on without much further ado and get back to the show at hand. Kids, if you're playing at home, we do a general Q&A here on the show. We try to drop a little knowledge on you. I'm not endorsing Rose's candidate for SUSD governing board. She's not enjoying, well, she might, but she's not endorsing my candidacy for the House of Representatives here for District 23. But we are just having a conversation, and we will ask about the same questions I've asked the other candidates, but it's a community conversation. It goes in different directions. If anybody out here has a question for Rose, write it into the little chat box right there. Start it off with the question mark. Andy Gomez, our campaign manager, will put it into the Zoom chat, and hopefully by the magic of the telecommunications, we'll get it answered. If my screen happens to go blank, Rose, and I start to freeze, you just come in and do yourself a little song and dance about your campaign, okay? Just
Okay,
pick up
but
the slack.
I can't see you, remember? So if you should freeze, I won't know.
Huh, that is interesting.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, as we said at the top of the show, I guess there's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So let's just get right to it.
Okay.
Rose Smith, why you? Why should you be on the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board?
I think that I am one of 3 great candidates for the 3 seats that are open on the school board. And me, I bring a little bit of history to the position. I worked for SUSD for 7 years. Before that, I worked for 7 years for Youth and Family Services, City of Scottsdale, where we, that's the restorative justice system for juvenile offenders. And it's a great program. And they, so I've been working with youth all that time. And then prior to that, I was at a high school in Santa Clarita where I worked at a high school administrative office. So I've got a lot of educational career behind me. I was also on the classified leadership team at SUSD. Just involved locally. Yes, I was on the Yes to Children committee. I sit on, I'm an appointed position on the PPAC, which is the Arizona Department of Ed Professional Practices Advisory Committee, because high ethical standards are very, very important to me, as you might imagine from some of the research work that I've done in the last few years. So I think I'd be a good candidate. I think I know the internal workings of the school enough, having dived in, done the public records request, learned about it, and also having been on the inside a little bit. So I think I'm a good candidate. I represent the community. I represent the parents. My grandchildren are in the schools right now, so I have a real vested interest in making sure our schools stay wonderful. So that's in a nutshell.
What is the acronym you just gave again? It's what, what?
PPAC, PPAC.
PPAC. So for the grandkids out there, Grandma Rose just said PP. Let's lighten it up a little bit here, okay?
You're probably watching.
Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. I'm a little bit out of sorts. All right, Rose. How long did you go to Scottsdale schools when you were a kid?
Well, I did. I'm a Saguaro High grad, class of 74, which makes me older.
Oh, you didn't have to say that. We can figure it out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a Saber cat. My family, my siblings all went through Kiva, Saguaro. So we lived in the community. We moved here in 1970 from the south side of Chicago. So,
oh, wow. Awesome. So tell me about, like, so you've been involved for a very long time in the community, whether it's by student, by employee, by parent. Tell me the great things that you see that are happening within the district. What are some of the pluses?
Oh, we've got, I think SUSD is the destination district in Arizona. I mean, we live in the best community. We have the greatest city amenities. We have generational families that go through our school like ours did. And I'd like to see more of the partnership between the city and the school district, because we were founded in 1896 by Winfield Scott himself. So he felt it was important to have the city and the school district together. I still feel that way. I think that we bring so much to the city of Scottsdale that I hope that the city of Scottsdale recognizes how much we as a school district help make them the most livable city.
It's really amazing because it's the schools that are the heart of a community. And turn these schools upside down and make them those poor schools that you hear about, this whole thing crumbles. This whole Scottsdale thing crumbles. So you've been around a while. You probably know how Scottsdale City Council and the government has actually played a part in the schools in the past. Not so much now. One of the questions I ask city council candidates is, how are you going to partner with the schools? So I'm going to ask you, how would you like to partner with city council and the governor? I mean, and the mayor?
Well, we have the mayor has the mayor's youth council, which is good because that they pick teenagers. I want to say that they're sophomore and juniors from the five high schools, the high schools, and then maybe Seoul, and they work with out of Youth and Family Services, I believe, and they handle the mayor's youth council and they discuss current issues and bring those issues to the mayor. And I think they even meet with city council, so that's good. But funding. We used to, and actually I used to manage the IGA when I was with Youth and Family Services. I managed an IGA for at the time was about $238,000 to partner with SUSD for prevention services. So this would be your social emotional piece for counseling, for diversion programs or pre-diversion programs.
We used to have Scottsdale Prevention Institute do that.
Right, but then so did Jewish Family did it, and so did Community Bridges did
Jewish
it.
Family Services.
Yeah, and it depends on who the vendor was. That was the district went through the procurement process and chose a vendor, and that program has gone away. Now that program was in place since 1986, and I want to say it ended just a few years ago. I would love to see that funding come back because it helps. If the city helps our youth to become better citizens, it's better for the entire community. And I think that's money well spent right here on our own citizens and our own families.
Well, and the funny thing, well, it's not funny, but when that program left, it was close to around the recession, when the city, actually there was a big debate in front of the city council because some people wanted to go completely with Bridges and others wanted to go completely with Scottsdale Prevention Institute, and there was a big clash. They said, we're done with this. But at that time, we actually then had to create a program that I was running for a while, which was a kindergarten through 8th grade behavior room for kids that are not special education, but special in their own way. And those kids were the ones that used to go to SPI or whatever the group was and actually have a lifeline once a week to actually work on those social skills and make them feel more a part of the learning environment so they weren't acting out as much.
Well, and I agree, Eric. I think that piece is kind of missing with the district right now, maybe, because I know when you used to have that program, we don't have an alternative school. And I think putting funding into those programs that help kids, that help with credit recovery, it's been my experience that sometimes kids just get so behind or they feel like they're so deep in the well that they can't get out. And I think that the program that you had with counselors that really were champions for the kids would really be beneficial to the community and to our students.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I would put it as some people that are climbing up a sand hill and their feet are moving, but they're not making any traction. They're not getting anywhere. Kind of part of how that grading committee didn't want to do any zeros for anybody. I know a lot of people didn't understand that, but when you take away hope, you take away effort, nothing good comes from that.
Well, I think the best motivator is success. And I think that if you can show kids that they can be successful and find ways to help them be successful, I think they will be.
Okay, so we have right here a couple of questions coming in. I will reintroduce Rose Smith. She is running for school governing board. If you have a question for her, just type it into the chat and we'll try to get it answered, I promise. And if you turned in a little bit late, Guy Phillips is persona non grata. He's not on this show anymore. There's a longer thing. We'll have it printed and we'll show it to you later. Hey, look at that. Patty Beckman says, hi, Rose. I know you care about I know you care about funding our public schools. In light of the district's focus on equity, it is good to know that Scottsdale is one of the very few districts that receives DSEG funding. Could you explain to the viewers what it is and why it is important?
I'll be happy to. We are one of the few districts in the state. I want to say maybe there's a dozen or so who gets DSEG funding, which is desegregation funding, which to SUSD, that means $7.1 million a year that we get. And that's supposed to be helping our most underserved population of students, maybe the ones that are English language learners. We have qualifying students at all 29 of our schools. So I think it's important to make sure that the services are being used properly for the kids in the classroom, either with some support staff for them or teachers. But that's 7.1 million, and it's been used all different kinds of ways in the last 5 years. I'm not the expert on this, but I worked with Sandy Ferraro, who's a former board member, Margaret Cerna, Kathy Rivera, who originated the program in SUSD and then went on to work in the state level, I believe. But I think that we get somebody to handle that 7.1 million who really knows the needs of our underserved kids, and we pump that money in there and help them out as best as we can. But it's great money, and I would like it to be very, very transparent on how it's spent.
I can give a little background on that too, Patty Beckman. I know you didn't ask me, but there is actually a push in the legislature, there was over the last few years, to actually get rid of DSEG funding, even though it's under court order. The legislature felt that it was wrong that districts had the ability to levy this tax against their residents to fund this court order, which is really kind of silly. But be that as it may, they kind of said, well, no one else has this funding, it's unfair. It's all about just kind of reducing the burden on, increasing the burden on schools, reducing the burden on taxpayers. But we also had a very good program in Scottsdale for a very long time. And then we had the one that shall not be named, who came in and saw the pot of gold, saw the golden goose, and said, oh, we have somebody who's doing that, let's fire or move that person, put in one of their underlings. And that, I don't want to get sued here, but the money was not used appropriately. I think there's more lying under there.
Well, and let me make it clear that Sandy and I sat down with Dr. Creekard and pointed out the concerns that we had with the expenditures of those funds because we pulled it directly from the budget. And Dr. Creekard took notice and gave that to somebody else to oversee.
Wonderful. The woman still works in our district, doesn't she? That's a pointed question. The woman still works in our district, doesn't she?
Yes.
Okay, enough said. You know what? I mean, we have these conversations. I'm sorry. I mean, here I was at the very beginning of the show, standing up for what is right rather than standing aside for what is easy. The people in our district that have our kids at heart, 22,000 of them, need to stand up and do the right thing. Pissed off. Sorry. Let's go to a commercial break. Oh, we don't have commercial breaks? What's that? Yeah, okay, we're back to the show. I'm feeling better. Okay, Rose, I mean, I know this is a tough day. I'm not in the best of mood. Boy, you should have seen me at lunch. I was a bear. Okay, ask Hector. Hey, Hector, how you doing? He says, I'd like to know more about the youth program. I have a young leader wanting to get involved. She's an 8th grader going into high school the following year. Well, the youth program, what do you think, Rose?
Well, I think a youth program sounds great. You know, we do have a couple of our teachers do a program called Minitown for our middle schoolers. And it's a wonderful program that teaches about diversity and equity and all those things that are important right now. And I think the kids that have been through that program, or at the high school level, it's called Unitown, and they go up to Prescott and they camp for a few days and they really dig into these deep social issues. It's been my understanding that the kids that are lucky enough to go through these programs really get a bond and they really become great student leaders. So I'd love to see more programs like that.
Yeah. And you know what? When your daughter gets to high school, there's an opportunity to create clubs. All you need is a student leader, you know, a teacher to kind of be the sponsor of the club. But it would be great if your daughter started a program where they can reach out to young elementary students, maybe kindergartners, first graders, do a reading program, do a pen pal program. I mean, lots of different things. And they just look up to those kids and they just glow when they got a special buddy. I think it's important to create this fabric, this web, and each strand that goes there could be, you know, the child that helps the younger child, the teacher that cares, the music person, the after-school program, the principal that comes by and says hi. And now you have this strong web that holds up kids.
Well, some of our schools even partner with senior centers to have that relationship going. And,
Yeah.
and that's a wonderful thing, because SUSD, unlike some of the newer districts like a Gilbert or something where people are very much more transient, we're over 100 years old here. We have roots here, and it's natural, I think, to reach out to the community a little more. And we've always been tight. And when we've gone through hard times as a district, the parents just galvanized, and that just shows how strong we are. And I hope nobody ever gets on the board again and puts us down or says we're broken. We are awesome, and we can only soar. We can only get better. So that's kind of how I feel, and that's kind of
I
why.
like that, Rose Smith. I like that talk. That's the kind of talk I like. You know what? Some of the people who are on council are about 150 years behind the times. Rim shot. Okay. Beth Parsons, when decision making, how do you plan on including all stakeholders in the learning community? And I think she's talking about, you know, your community, your teachers, your classified staff, your everybody. How do you include them all?
Well, I think as far as our employees go, I think making sure that the certified, the classified, and the principal associations are recognized and that they have a seat at the table to negotiate for their representative employees. I think that was a system that worked forever. I was classified leader. We were able to identify some what we thought were glaring disparities in the classified employee agreement, and we got things fixed. As far as bringing the stakeholders into the community, we have awesome stakeholders. I mean, we had a blue ribbon advisory council several years ago that was made up of community members and school leaders and parents that would help guide us when we were ready to start the school rebuild. That plan was a wonderful plan. It kind of went out the window when she who will not be named kind of came in and redid all that bond construction. But we have great partnerships with our community. We have the Coronado Promise, which Patty is working really hard on with community leaders and Amy Palatucci over at Coronado. We have partnerships with the Rotary. We have lots of stakeholders. I think people would like transparency, and I would hope that school news and these partnerships could have a more visible platform in the community so people know about all our great partnerships.
I remember working with Dr. Barrissey, and we used to do a book study, and it's one that everybody read, Good to Great.
Uh-huh.
And one of the companies that I thought we should pattern ourselves after was Southwest Airlines, where everybody is committed to the mission, everybody's enjoying themselves working. I find that when you take care of your employees and you care about them, they are the ones that will actually go out and do the work. They will go out and sell the district. They will go out and sing the phrases from the highest mountain. But we have gotten to the point where we've had a little bit of a turnover, but we've also had the people who have been here feel disrespected and untrusting. It's going to take a special person. I hope Dr. Menzel is that guy. I think he is.
Well,
I'm banking on it.
I hope so. I was watching the board meeting, was it last night? And it was interesting because they were remarking about how HR had never seen so many recruits. And I was thinking, but this iteration's only been there a few years. And I feel like we're kind of missing the historical piece in the district. And I hope that we can really value and retain our employees who have been here, who know what we've been through, and that they're valued and that their voices are heard.
I've offered my services to Dr. Menzel. I hope he takes me up on it, because when I was bargaining contracts back in the day, and this is like mid 2000, right? 2006, we used to know by like clockwork. We could forecast how many people were going to leave based on, we look at the scattergram, years of service, because we treated people well. They generally took their time, and if they were going to continue in education, they continued with SUSD till retirement. Now, we had people leave for many different reasons, whether the spouse moved or they decided to get out of education altogether. But we could bank on hiring between 160 and 200 new teachers every year. We had, anyway. So let's go to another question. Zach Lindsay, another guy running for the governing board who is in this hot seat. He says, what are some of the areas you think SUSD is very strong in?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to Barb Reinert, who I spoke with at length about our science program. Our science program is one of the best around. It's a model for other districts, other schools. I think Barb even said that she went and taught a group in South Korea about our science program.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I think she's awesome. I think her knowledge is awesome. I think keeping curriculum specialists like Barb Reinhardt, our awesome science program, Diane Murphy.
Diane Murphy, love her.
Really, really connect with the teachers. And I'd love to see strong mentoring programs for new teachers. I know my girls got their teaching credentials in California. Both my daughters are teachers, by the way, in case you didn't know. One is here at Cocopah and one is in San Francisco. And both of my girls went through a mentoring program that the state requires in California, which partners them with a mentor for the first few years. And they take classes, they learn classroom management. They have somebody that they can always call up and lean on if they have questions while they're getting their footing as a new teacher. I'd love to see a program like that in SUSD. And we have awesome veteran teachers that could promote that kind of a program.
I got a plan at the state level to help you with that. So the whole hire to retire right here in Arizona.
That's right, for a teacher.
Yeah, time for a teacher. Barb Reiner is actually an investor in my campaign.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Love you, Barb Reiner. If anybody else wants to join Barb Reiner, it's curlin23.com for all your sane political needs. Don't get me started again. Hey, Rose, I have one more question before we play our little game. I know kids out home love to play the games. But Jan Michael Greenberg has been hammering the drum about an internal auditor. And I know when a new board is set, you'll probably be talking about that. Do you have a position on an internal auditor being hired?
I think an auditor is critical to an organization our size with the kind of monies that we have. Besides our normal budget, we have a boatload of bond monies that our wonderful taxpayers have granted us for rebuilds. We had an internal auditor on staff. When that position was eliminated, there was no oversight that came in, as far as I could tell. I mean, they brought in somebody that they called a compliance officer, but they weren't. I think someone needs to be brought in, whether it's a team, whether it's an external auditor, whether it's somebody that we share with another district, that kind of helps us work through the oversight of our tremendous public funds. Because I think that we really do need another set of eyes on all these things. I'd love to see somebody audit our HR. and make sure that we don't have any duplications, that we're on par with what other districts are paying for positions. I have a personal soft spot in my heart for the special needs paras. When I was a classified leader on the reclassification committee, we tried to get the paras that deal with our most fragile children, change adult diapers, change Mency pads, help with feeding, to give them additional compensation for that position and to create a new position for those wonderful employees. They also do our Medicaid billing. I don't know if that was ever accomplished because I retired from the district. It didn't get pushed through cabinet the year that I pushed it through because we approved it. But an auditor might help to look at the positions, look at the job descriptions, see what's comparable and how we need to compensate people properly.
Rose, before we get to the game, in case people want more information about you and your candidacy, what's your website?
It's Rose, number 4, SUSD.com.
Okay, Rose, the numeral 4, SUSD.com. That's good. Nice symmetry. Rose and SUSD, 4 letters right there, 4 in the middle. See how I did that really quick? I'm a math person, Rose.
It sounds a little OCD, Eric.
Boom. Before we get to the game, tomorrow we are not having a show. I am asking people to join me if they can, with masks, socially distanced over in Fountain Hills to support the students that were stopped from their Black Lives Matter protest and have rescheduled for tomorrow. Peaceful protest. It's at 4 o'clock. You can see it on my Facebook page, and it's Together We Care, or Together We Can. TWC, it's something. It's an acronym. Rose, Joe Davidson says hi.
Oh, hi.
She wishes she could vote for you. She's in Costa Rica taking pictures of birds. I love her pictures.
I know, they're wonderful.
Oh, they're so good.
Joe's wonderful. She was the best editor we ever had in the district.
She was a master of all things. Let's just go on about Joe Davidson. The fact is she doesn't have all the vowels in her first name. She's only got the O. She's missing the E, but she made up for it with all the different things she did. She was the first they called the receptionist, then it was the corporeal, what is it, in charge of first impressions or something?
Right.
Anyway, she was great. I loved her. 44th Street. Always see her. She'd have some candy hiding under there for me. I'd steal some. Great. Okay, let's play Schools Out for the Summer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about some high school movies. I'm going to give you some hints, and I want you to give me the title. What I'd like you to do, because nobody really listened to what we had to say here, they were just waiting for the game. I'd like you to kind of give a little wait of about 3-4 seconds before blurting it out. Sometimes we've had people who would try to answer before the question was even over. That ruins it for all the other people who are playing at home. Okay, so write this into the board. Here we go. Robin Williams starred as John Keating, an English teacher at an elite all-boys boarding school in this movie.
Dead Poets Society.
Bing, 1 for you. Okay, this high school was literally hell for Brian De Palma in his adaptation of Stephen King's novel.
Carrie.
Yeah, very good. The blood and everything, that was great. Okay, this is one of my favorite movies. I love this. Molly Ringwald. This was one of John Hughes' famous movies. He directed this classic. It's about Molly Ringwald and this her special birthday that was completely ruined.
Was it The Breakfast Club or 16 Candles?
I'm going to need a final answer.
The Breakfast Club.
Wrong. 16 Candles. Birthday.
Trying to be a little tricky.
I love when the exchange student comes out to the door all hungover. He's like, she went to get married. Huh? Married. And they couldn't understand it. She went to get married. That was funny. Okay, how about this one? Set in New York City. It's about 4 students who enter this prestigious high school dedicated to the performing arts.
Fame.
Fame! I'm gonna live forever. All right. How about this one? This classic, all right? It doesn't even seem like a high school movie, but it really is because these guys seemed a little too cool for high school. But John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John were in it.
Grease.
Nice. Okay. This is an older movie. Sidney Poitier. He was playing an American teacher in an inner city London school. I love the song. Do you remember that movie?
To Sir with Love.
Can you sing it for us?
No, I'm not Lulu.
Okay. Oh, you got that one. Bonus point. Very good. Okay, last question. Years before Star Wars, George Lucas wrote and directed this Oscar-nominated ensemble comedy. Group of high school graduates who spend that one last night together in 1962. So many great people in there. What is it? Rose Smith for the win!
American Graffiti.
Okay, I've heard that people want to see our guests dancing when we hit the end of the show. So join us Friday for Seth Blattman. He's going to be on here. We're going to play the game Famous Threesomes. And then if you're actually in tune with politics, you'll know why we're doing that. And then tomorrow we're going to be at Fountain Hills at the March from 4 to 6. Come join us. Wear your mask. Bring your water. Support the children who are trying to change the world. Rose Smith, dance off now. Oh, here we go.